මේ උපදකින්නේ ආචාර්ය එම්.යූ. තෙන්නකෝන් මහතා තමාට හිමි සමරු ඵලකය ලබා ගන්නා අවස්ථාවයි. ආර්ය දාසතන්ත්‍රගේ මහතාට අපේ සුබ පැතුම්.
අද දින අපගේ
Mr. Jalal Jayawardena, who I believe has served for about 10 years as the president now, deputy governors, senior staff members of the central bank, and other members of the association. I think it was wholly appropriate that today's proceedings started by remembering what happened at the time of the central bank bomb. I think we were fortunate in having Dr. Jayawardena here to share with us some reminiscences of somebody who was really at the heart of trying to cope with that absolutely devastating event. And the fact that he was so close to what happened, I think, brought home to us in a very vivid way the challenges that the central bank faced at that time. I think it's possible to argue very plausibly that the central bank has the very heart of the economy in its hands. The crucial functions performed by the central bank, if they are disrupted even for a day or two, it can have devastating effects right through the economy and through the economy, the lives of all the people. So it was absolutely critical that the central bank didn't even miss a beat. And it was extraordinary that they were able to achieve that. That there was an absolute seamless continuation of all the vital functions that the central bank is responsible for. And I think Dr. Jayawardena brought that home to us extremely, I think with great clarity and in a very vivid way today. But you know, when you think about it, it's not surprising. Because really from the very beginning, if you read John Exter's report, which was the basis of the Monetary Law Act, he talks about the special functions of the central bank and the need to have the right kind of people to undertake that extremely important work for the country. So from the very beginning, the central bank has attached the highest priority to attracting the very best from each cohort. And that is something I think the bank has adhered to very robustly right through. In other institutions, in other parts of the economy, standards have not always been mentioned. But I think we can say with some confidence that did not apply to the central bank. The central bank went out to get the very best people to do this very important work on behalf of the country. So I, for one, am not surprised. I was not in the country at the time. I was, for one, though, however, I'm not surprised that the staff of the central bank were able to respond in the way they did to carry on the work that was so essential for the country. The other thing that I would like to say is that I want to share some personal reminiscences about my association with the central bank. My first knowledge of the central bank at all was when I was maybe 11 or 12 years old. Because my father, who was a member of the Ceylon Civil Service and worked in the Treasury, was a very close friend of Governor William Tennecoon. And so Mr. Tennecoon used to invite us as a family to spend time at his home in Kandy. And when we were there, I used to listen to my father and Mr. Tennecoon discussing various things. And my curiosity was stirred from a very young age about this central bank and the kind of work it seemed to do. And so right through my education, much of it which was abroad, in the back of my mind was this desire to go back and work for the central bank. And so luckily, in 1974, I was extremely fortunate to be employed by the central bank as a probationary staff officer. And I'm indeed extremely grateful to the central bank because the central bank funded my postgraduate research for 4 years. In those days, when there wasn't a great deal of foreign exchange, I was fortunate that the central bank, myself and others who were fortunate to get scholarships, I mean, to be funded for 4 years to do a research degree is a special, special privilege, and one needs to be deeply grateful for that. And I am very deeply grateful to the central bank for that massive support that I received shortly after I joined, about 3 years after I joined the central bank. Then, of course, at the end, to be able to come back and work as governor was something beyond my expectations. I must tell you that I actually did not accept the job, because as you know, those were turbulent times, and I was not at all sure that it was a good time to come. But suddenly a reporter telephoned me and congratulated me, and I said, why? And she said, well, the president has tweeted that he has appointed you as governor of the central bank. So after that, there was no choice. And I'm glad I got the opportunity. Because one thing that became very clear to me in the time I was in the central bank, the governor does not have to do very much. All the governor has to do is to make sure that the staff of the central bank are allowed to do their work. They will do it. If they are allowed to do it without interference, the staff of the central bank will rise to the occasion and do it. So the governor has to pay interference and make sure that there is no political pressure on the work of the central bank. That is all the governor has to do, in my view. And so what was clear to me was the high quality of the central bank. We had some difficulties at that time, but what was also clear was that the staff of the central bank wanted the highest degree of professionalism. They wanted to behave professionally, work professionally, and to do that highly, and Exeter talked about the highly technical work that the central bank is required to do. And this is why people, I remember reading about some of the controversy that was there when there was a salary increase. And I think what Dr. Vijay Bodna said was very true. Because of the way the central bank works, it works quietly, it gets on with its work, doesn't go around publicizing itself. And so the public are not fully aware about the complexity of the work that the central bank does. But if they did, I think they would fully understand all this nonsense that went on about the salary increase, I don't think would have really wouldn't have materialized. So the central bankers, I think, time and again, as we've heard from previous speakers today, has risen to the occasion when the country needed it to. And as I say, I'm not surprised, because with each generation, the central bank set out to hire and employ the very best. Now, I think to bring it down to today's world, to bring my remarks down to today's world, I must say I was very pleased to see the passage at the enactment of the new Central Bank Act. I have read very carefully what Dr. Vijay Bodna has said about it. He has written more than once in his column about it. And if I've read him correctly, on balance, he thinks it's a very positive thing. There were some things he said could be done better, but it was a very positive thing. And I think that the autonomy that it gives the central bank is something that I think we need to preserve. I personally feel, given that the central bank with the Ministry of Finance is very integrally involved with macroeconomic policy making, that is something, in Sri Lanka often politics has trumped economics. It's been very difficult to do a very technical job without political interference. And this act, because of the increased autonomy it gives the central bank, I think will serve the central bank well in terms of carrying out its primary objectives of price stability and financial system stability. And as I said, if the central bank is allowed to do its work without any interference, it has the technical ability, the integrity, and the professionalism to do that work in a way that is of great service to the country. Finally, let me say a few words about the association. Clearly, the association has done much over the last 50 years. to improve the financial conditions of its membership and also the social well-being. And I was very pleased to hear from Mr. Jayawardena that the relations between the association and the bank and its management are constructive. And hopefully the expectations of the pensioners will continue to be met, and that relationship continues to be a positive one. Finally, let me again thank all of you for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure, privilege really, to be with you here today as you celebrate the 50th anniversary. And I hope that the association goes from strength to strength in supporting the high quality staff which has given often 35 years of service to one of the most crucial, in my view, the most important institution in the country as far as the economy of the country is concerned. And if the economy, if the institution is responsible for the economy, it is then plays a crucial role in protecting and improving the lives of the people of the country.
You're watching the Lifetraveler channel.